Okay.
And we are live and on the air, guys. We're on the air. Uh-oh.
Hello.
I had a little pre-show talk, so don't worry about it. Pretend you didn't see that.
It's off the
And
air.
joining me is Pamela from Australia. How you doing, Pamela?
Hi.
It's early in the morning, or it's in the morning, and she just got out of bed. So. Also
Oh, no, I've
joining.
been up for a few hours.
Is my chewing audible on the mic? Yeah.
No,
I can't hear it.
I couldn't hear it. Of course, I have bad hearing anyway, so.
Ulysses
And also
said it,
joining us
so.
from Virginia, Ulysses. Ulysses, he
Howdy.
just got back from the theater.
Woohoo!
Logan, non-spoilery.
Don't tell me anything about it. I'm about to see it in 2 hours.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I was gonna see it first thing this morning, but it was sold out. First showing on a Sunday morning, it was sold out.
The main thing, I'm not going to see it until it comes to iTunes. The main thing is, it seems like a drama. It's not just some superhero story, whatever. It seems like it's going to be a really good drama. So people who enjoy dramas will probably like it as well.
It's a bit more graphic than a drama.
But it's got more substance than normal superhero movies, right?
Yes, it's got a lot more substance than normal.
It's about refugees.
No, more like people are bad and we do bad things.
So like current day refugees.
Yeah. In fact, one of the well, we'll get into that. I'll run down the stories. First one has to do with, well, the first story we're going to get into has been in the lineup for the last couple of weeks. I haven't got to it. The evolution of music. And the idea is that music evolved as communication between parents, mostly mothers, going back to early humans, and their babies. And the babies, of course, want attention. They want attention. Parents want to give attention, but the parents also have to do other things. They have to, go out and hunt or gather and whatever. So the idea is they could vocalize to their child in a way that makes the child think they're paying attention to the child when they're actually doing something else. And this vocalization is where music evolved. And that's the idea behind it. Got another story about how this is a mouse embryo. Now, they didn't really develop a mouse embryo, but they developed an embryo. They created an embryo from stem cells that is similar, seems to be very similar to mouse embryos. And that's the first time. Short story about how the early spring is bringing deadly weather. Now, I know when they talked about climate change, one of the ideas is it would mean more stronger storms. And this is NASA's reporting on the early spring we've had in many parts of the country, and it's generating even tornadoes, which I hadn't realized. A couple of stories about water use. This is going to be a real problem increasingly in the future. Droughts all over the United States. And some cities are getting the message and using water less. And farmers are also beginning to get the message and using water less. And the big thing is the farmers, because something like 90% of the water use in the United States is with farms. Get into a little bit of politics, but this is an article in Scientific America, I believe, and it's how the travel ban is affecting science research. One, you have some peoples, non-Americans studying in the United States, working in American labs, particularly if they're from any of the 7 banned countries, but also concerned about other countries. They leave the country, are they going to be able to get back in? And you've got people from other countries that are now concerned with, maybe I don't want to go to the United States. What's going to happen? So it's really impacting science research. And then if we get to it, the last story deals with the Earth's core acting like a crystal. All right, let me jump into the first story and do the old screen share. And this is the idea that music evolved out of infant-directed song. And a new study suggests that music, specifically infant-directed song, evolved as a way for parents to signal to children that their needs are being met, making the kids feel happy, while still freeing up parents to perform other tasks like foraging for food, caring for other offsprings. And this is from Harvard University. And new evidence that lullabies, play songs, and other music for babies and toddlers may have some deep evolutionary roots. And this is a paper from the Graduate School of Education at Harvard, Samuel Meir, and Associate Professor Max Karsnow. They say infant-directed song evolved as a way for parents to signal to children that their needs are being met. Music's a tricky topic for evolutionary science. It turns up in many cultures around the world and in many different contexts. But no one knows why humans, it says, are the only musical species. Now, when they say musical, they're talking about non-reproductive. Most of the music, the songs from birds and things have a reproductive strategy behind it. And their claim here is that humans are the only species that are using music, but for non-reproductive activities. The core of their theory is the notion that parents and infants are engaged in an arms race over attention, particularly in the ancestral world, where there are predators and other people that pose a risk. The infants don't know which foods are poisonous and what activities are hazardous. And an infant wants to be kept safe by having the parent paying attention to it. So it's in the infant's best interest to do what it can, including screaming or whatever, to make sure the parent is paying attention to it. This theory of parent-offspring conflict was first put forth over 40 years ago by a guy named Robert Treveris, who was an assistant professor at Harvard. Now, what he predicted is that infants and parents aren't on the same page when it comes to the distribution of resources. His theory covers everything that's been classified as parental investment. It's anything that a parent could give to an offspring to help them, or what they may want to hold back for themselves and other offspring. A gene in a baby has a 50% chance of being found in a sibling by virtue of sharing two parents. That means that from the baby's genetic perspective, she or he will want more self-serving diversion of resources. For example, that their mom or from what their sister wants from their genetic perspective. Now, they took the idea of parent-offspring conflict and applied it to attention. They predict that children should want a greater share of their parents' attention than their parents want to give them. But how does the child know it has her parents' attention? The solution is their parents were forced to develop some method of signaling to their offspring that their desire for attention was being met. What makes such songs more honest is the cost associated with them, meaning that by sending a signal to an infant, a parent cannot be sending it to someone else, sending it by lying about it. Now, this is a little tricky. Infant-directed song has a lot of this cost built into it. I can't be singing to you and be talking to someone else. It's unlikely I'm running away because I need to control my voice to sing. You can tell the orientation of the head. Even without looking at me, the child can tell how far away I am. Mira notes that infant-directed song provides lots of opportunities for parents to signal their attention to infants. Parents adjust their singing in real time by altering the melody, the rhythm, the tempo, the timbre of their singing, adding hand motions, bouncing, touching, other facial expressions, and so on. All of these features can be finely tuned to the baby's affected state or not. They match or mismatch between baby behavior and parent singing can be informative for whether or not the parent is paying attention to the infant. All of these things make something like an infant-directed vocalization a good cure for attention. And when you put it into this co-evolutionary arms race, you might end up getting something like infant-directed song. Jump ahead a little bit. The idea is, we laid out in the papers, that infant-directed song and things that share its characteristics should be very good at calming a fussy infant. We're not talking about going from this type of selection to Rockabye Baby. The theory states nothing about the words, the songs, or specific melodies. It's saying that the acoustical properties of infant-directed song should make it better at calming an infant than other music. I'm not trying to stop there. That's a little more complicated than that, but I think you can get the idea.
Humans use music for sex. I use it all the time. At least when I was single.
Have you got something on your mind here? I don't know. We had a little pre-show start. We're talking about babies. We're talking about direction between children and babies.
Babies come after it. I'm just saying.
Okay.
Okay, that was comedy. What do you think, Pamela? Where she's blocked out.
I think you're referring to the condom story, and condoms is that the baby does not come after that.
Not if you
Just
use your
condoms are
condom.
supposed-
Not if you use your hero condom, no.
Not if you use it properly, yeah.
I've got to tell you something.
Okay, what do you want to
So
tell
we could
us?
sing to Chelsea, and she can understand us.
That's not.
Hi,
Okay.
Chelsea.
To her all-
Can Chelsea tell? Do you sing to Chelsea? I assume you sing to Chelsea.
Sorry, you were cutting out. Can Chelsea tell what?
When you sing to Chelsea, Chelsea's upset. She's not getting your attention. When you sing to Chelsea, can she tell that does she seem to actually know that she's getting your attention, or you're just, kind of some sort of funny, I can't think of the right word, pretend singing, like Bananarama, perhaps.
Phoning it in. Yeah. Now she knows when I'm phoning it in. And she'll just yell at me, stop, 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 until I stop and give her my full attention.
Oh, I love Chelsea.
But when she was younger, I don't know. See, it's hard to tell because if the only time she's really, she's not a regular child. The only time she ever really cries or has cried was when she was teething, and she's over that now. And so when you're teething, nothing settles you down.
Can I drink it?
No, it's coffee, and you're not even 3 years old yet, so you can't drink it. Yeah. Now Chelsea's not your average child, so I can't comment. And I'm not saying that, like all parents think their children are special and stuff. I get told all the time by other parents that she's like advanced.
Well, she doesn't have her average mom either,
True. But I got told at playgroup the other day by a lady who has 4 children that Chelsea has the energy of all 4 of her children combined.
Is that supposed to be a good thing?
No, they were like, how do you do it? And I'm like, well, that's why I've only got 1, I guess.
Hey, I've seen Chelsea lead other kids around. She's pretty impressive.
I know, she's so funny. Yeah, anyway, that was Otto. Gosh.
Ed, it sounds like Chelsea's singing right now.
She's certainly vocalizing. I'm going to go a little off topic because since we've got you now, hopefully you can hear me. And that is, I know you have a great group for homeschooling. And there are bills before, uh-oh, you're freezing. What it comes down to, I wanted to talk about homeschooling in Australia. And does your group get government support for your homeschooling activities?
No, but I don't think we've applied for it either. I mean, so no, not for what we do. For distance, like there's homeschooling and there's distance education, and I'm going to do a combination of both. And for distance education, yes, you get support, like subsidies and stuff, and as you do for public schooling, if they were going to a building. But for homeschooling, no, I don't think so. But I mean, homeschooling doesn't cost that much. What do you need subsidies for? Like if you go on excursions and stuff with public school, you've still got to pay. It's just not much. You know, we just get together, get all our kids together and socialize them.
We need to like get a dynamo and put it on a bike or a treadmill for Chelsea. There you go. You could power your phone, maybe a battery or 2.
The idea in the United
Power
States.
my phone from Chelsea.
Well, you said she's got plenty of energy. You just burn some of that energy off right there, man. We're being green and watching kids.
I know she's crazy like energy, and I always like I'd have one like coffee during the day when I was breastfeeding, not while I was pregnant, but when I was breastfeeding, and I would time it to make I would time it to make sure that she wasn't getting the caffeine through, and then she had all this energy, and I'm like, gee, maybe she is getting some, but it's not much and all that. Anyway, since I stopped breastfeeding completely about 6 or 7 weeks ago, I swear she has more energy. So it wasn't me. If anything, caffeine might have been keeping her sedated. So,
Okay.
Yeah, no, she's crazy.
It's a big deal here in the United
That's
States
the main thing.
because
She's a very happy
it
child.
comes down to taxes. People who pay taxes to support the public schools. People who are homeschooling their children say they should get a tax credit back. They shouldn't, they should get some kind of compensation in some way, shape, or form, some help in homeschooling their children. It's against the law and Constitution in the United States, but that's an idea that the current administration has been pushing, and I think it does actually have some value. That is helping. There are more and more parents homeschooling in the United States. Initially, it was religious groups. Now it isn't. I know more people are doing it simply because they think they can do a better job than the school can, and in some cases, they might well be right. The school you've got in Australia, you're doing fantastic. You have the parents seem to be very much involved, which is a key.
Yeah, but it's different. Australia has more common sense stuff, I feel, than America. But I don't know. I could be wrong.
You were cutting out a lot then, but you were saying that you should get. You were saying you either should or you do get a tax break for homeschooling. Yeah, for not using the public system. Yeah, I don't care. about that. I'm just homeschooling because I think I can do a better job. I'm not worried about tax breaks or funding or anything. I'll just do it.
To what grade do you expect to be homeschooling Chelsea?
You're cutting it.
To what grade do you expect to be homeschooling Chelsea?
To what grade do you homeschool?
Yes.
From kindergarten to senior year of high school, and then she'll go to university.
Okay, so you expect to do the homeschooling all the way up to university. Can you guys hear me?
I can hear you.
You're cutting. Sorry, you're cutting it. Yeah. Well, as I said, it's homeschooling and distance education. So
Okay.
she'll go through and online, and then I'll add to that with homeschooling.
But yeah, you're not going to worry about. You're not going to worry about socialization or anything like that.
No, she's very socialized. She has a. Okay, when you're at this is what I don't get about when you're at public school, because I never went to private school, so I'm assuming it's the same. But public school, you get told to shush. You can't talk to the person next to you, and you just got to copy down silently from the blackboard. And then at lunchtime, you have like 20 minutes in the morning and like 40 minutes in the afternoon, where you're supposed to gobble down your lunch and then go and play. She gets way more socialization than that. You're not, and you have class activities, but they're all structured. It's not really socialized.
In my experience, homeschool kids have better manners than non-homeschool kids.
I would agree, but
and they don't have, and they're not necessarily subjected to the bullying and what have you, and cliques, those damn cliques.
Well, no,
I couldn't hear anything. All I heard was, in my experience, homeschooled kids have not.
They got better manners.
Bullying. You don't have to worry about things like bullying if you send your child off to school, that they're going to get bullied in school.
Sorry.
No, reverse that.
Connection seems to be getting worse for me.
No. We're going to lose Pamela.
I think so. I heard that. I got Ulysses.
You can hear me. Well, what he said that, you don't, he agrees with you that, but if you do raise your child homeschool for a long, long time and then send them to a public school, they probably will get bullied a lot more for whatever reason, because they're different. But in the long term, they're more personal. They're nicer people than kids that do go to school.
Yep.
So much depends on the parents, whether you're homeschooling or not. Even if you're going to a school and your parents are very involved after school, for instance, you're getting involved in different activities, making things, I think, like perhaps your parents, your father did, Patrick, that kind of thing. The parents are immersed in their child's education. Kid will do fine. Kids should still do fine, even if the parents are not involved, but it's and then it becomes more on the child. What I have consistently read is in the United States, children going from homeschooling to school are behind. I've talked to school teachers, one in Florida, one in Connecticut. They both say the same thing. The homeschool children, when they go into that more structured environment, they don't do as well. Even Justin Jackson, who went to, what is it, the Montserrat or whatever the heck, it's a different kind of schooling.
Montessori.
Sorry, less structured. He said when he went to public school, he got caught behind. He's a pretty smart guy. And we lost Pamela. Okay. Hopefully she will join us. And now let us move on to the next story. And Pamela is back. I'll move on to the next story. Anyway. Do.
I think you were saying you were saying that homeschooling.
Oh no, poor Pamela sounds like she's going down a black hole.
I was thinking of Stargate episode.
Pamela, your connection is slowly dying.
Pamela, turn off your video.
Depends on the teacher.
Pamela, your video is sucking up your data. We can hear you if you turn your video off better.
I had some.
All right, have we lost Ed too?
No, I'm here.
No, he's sharing a screen.
All right, just
I didn't want to move over because I'm screen sharing. We can't hear Pamela. She can jump in from time to time when she gets a chance, and maybe her connection will improve.
She just has to turn her video off. She'll be fine.
Yeah, hopefully. All right. This is from the University of Cambridge. And what they say, they've managed to create a structure resembling a mouse embryo in culture using two types of stem cells and a 3D scaffolding. That is very early stages, first steps. If you can do this and you can actually engineer a mouse using stem cells, you can, in this particular manner. The idea is they want to be able to create more embryos for research. Okay. The embryonic stem cells cluster together inside the embryo towards one end, stage of development known as the blastocyst. The other two types of stem cells in the blastocyst are the extra-embryonic tropoblastic stem cells called TSC, as well as the embryonic stem cells themselves called ESC. Previous attempts to grow embryo-like structures using only ESCs have had limited success. And this new study, the Cambridge researchers using a genetically modified mouse ESC and TSC together with a scaffold known as an extracellular matrix, they're able to grow a structure capable of assembling itself and whose development and architecture very closely resemble the natural embryo. Both the embryonic and extra-embryonic cells starts to talk to each other and become organized into a structure that looks and behaves like an embryo. It has atomically corrected regions that develop in the right place and at the right time. We know that the interactions between the different types of cells are important for developing, but the striking thing in our new work illustrates is that this is a real partnership. The cells are guiding each other. Without this partnership, the correct development of shape and form and the timely activity of key biological mechanisms doesn't take place properly. Comparing their artificial embryo to a normally developing embryo, the team was able to show that its development followed the same pattern of development. The stem cells organize themselves with ESCs at one end and TSCs at the other. The cavity opens then within each cluster, before joining together, eventually to become the large so-called pre-amniotic cavity in which the embryo will develop. This artificial embryo closely resembles the real thing. It is unlikely that it would develop further with the healthy fetus, says the researchers. To do so, it would likely need to the third form of stem cell, which would allow the development of the yolk sac. Let's see. The professor believes that this latest development could help them overcome one of the main barriers to human embryonic research, a shortage of embryos. Currently, embryos are developed from eggs donated through IVF cells. We think it would be possible to mimic a lot of development events occurring before 14 days using human embryonic and extra embryonic cells using a similar approach to our technique using stem cells. We are very optimistic that this will allow us to study key events of this critical stage in human development.
Well, religious people let you use embryos now.
I would say yes. You're not using human.
Well, when you want to start using human, because you said human at the end.
You're starting with the stem cells. Now, I don't know. The idea would be if you could take any stem cell and make it pluripotent, move it back to its earliest evolutionary stage. You do that, and then you take that stem cell and you grow an embryo from it that really mimics
Oh, it does.
a human embryo. You're mimicking a human embryo.
So, well, we do need to learn better how the beginning of our existence starts to help stop some of these. Because, to be fair, most pregnancies don't come about like if you're trying to create a baby. But from what I hear, we don't know enough about the very beginning of our life stages. So maybe this would help with keeping preemies and other children born alive, SIDS and stuff like that.
Yeah, you'd use these for studies. Right now, the amount of studies you do with embryos is limited. But if you can create a human-like embryo in a lab that functions similarly to a human embryo or a mouse embryo, you can study it. You'd have a lot more of these embryos to work with in the lab. You could do a lot more studies.
Yeah, we need something that ethically would let us do it, because as it is right now, there's a lot of opposition to studying human embryos at that stage, and it's hard to do anyway. So this is good news for the science community.
Good first step. And as I say, it'll hopefully lead to more embryos, human-like embryos, being able for development. Okay. Quick story from NASA. And this, first of all, it shows the importance of having satellites, NASA satellites, monitoring the Earth. And this particular satellite program, they were able to monitor and identify storms perhaps leading to tornadoes. Let me read from this. Rainfall from spring-like downpours in the U.S. from February 25th to March 1st were analyzed by NASA using data from the Global Precipitation Measurement Mission, or GPM satellite. Record-breaking warm temperatures this winter have caused plants to bloom early in the United States, eastern United States. Unfortunately, this has also resulted in the formation of spring-like severe thunderstorms and deadly tornadoes. Multiple tomato sightings. Didn't quite mean that.
Those tornadoes are horrible.
Look out for them tornadoes. Okay. Multiple tornado sightings were made in 3 of the last 7 days. one in Maryland, Pennsylvania, and Massachusetts. February 28th, twisters reported in Arkansas, Iowa, Illinois, and Michigan. 3 people were killed in the Illinois one and 4 others injured in the Arkansas tornado. Severe weather on March 1st included sightings in Ohio, Tennessee, West Virginia, Kentucky, Georgia. The integrated multi-satellite retrievals for GMP data were used to show the rainfall that occurred during the past week. The analysis was done at NASA's Goddard Space Center in Greenbelt, Maryland. Intense downpours from storms over this period resulted in flash floods in several states. This GP core observation satellite had a good view of severe weather as it moved into the Appalachian Mountains on March 1st. It measured rain and snow using something called the GPM microwave imager, and it measured rain falling at the rate of 6.3 inches per hour. So what we're talking about is closer monitoring from these satellites of the weather happening, leading to better predictions, and showing in this case that the climate change could well be resulting in more severe storms, including early tornadoes in parts of the United States, parts of the eastern parts of the United States.
Now that Trump is purposely cutting funds for all climate change science and the satellites, he's defunding the satellites. We're kind of, what's going to happen there, Ed? Are we going to have no way to predict more tornadoes, right?
Faster predictions of tornadoes. Pamela's in the chat room, so I want to monitor the chat room.
See, now I know this is going off political, but you said, what damage could he do in 4 years? Well, you'd stop funding those satellites. They're just going to fall out of the sky, and you've lost billions of dollars.
Well, that's not true.
Weather data, right? How long will their orbits degrade after 4 years? Are they going to still be up there, Patrick?
They're usually up there for a couple decades.
Yeah, but they're manned. They're people. They got control gyros in there to keep them in stable orbits, right?
They're not as big as the ISS. They don't have to get boosted every 2 years or whatever. Usually they're in geosynchronous orbit.
I mean, anything that operates for 4 years is going to break. It needs proper attention, right?
Not necessarily. There was that satellite that was launched and it had the wrong orbit or something for some mission. I don't remember what it was, but
in the 60s.
Yeah, no, I think it was the 70s or the 80s. But anyways, it had the maybe the Japanese did it.
I know we rebooted one that we lost some solar thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was flying around this. Okay, well, this is probably different because it was flying around the system, and then it was going to come back, the solar system, and then it was going to come back at a certain point of time where it could be made in contact for another mission.
Was it Hayabusa?
Maybe. I think it was a Japanese one. I don't remember. But I mean, that one flying around the system survived a few decades, I think. I'm not sure if they ever actually got in communication with it. I think maybe it's lost its power, and then there was a certain orbit where it was going to get its power back.
Well, as long as it doesn't crash into the Earth, we're good.
Yeah. Well, they always crash into the Earth. There's a satellite that's falling to the Earth every couple weeks.
Yeah, right. Yeah, Pamela's in the chat room. If anybody, well, let me give you a link. You guys a link to the chat room, so maybe you can go in there and we can, three of us can monitor what Pamela is saying and doing. Okay. Got two stories about water use. And that's coming ever more critical every year. Droughts growing, long-lasting droughts, not year to year, but long-lasting droughts. Connecticut, I think we're about 40% less than our normal rainfall. Now, in some places, some people are getting it, particularly farmers. And farmers have a, obviously a vested interest because it, it affects their income, et cetera. And farms use about 90% of the water used in the U.S. I'm going to do the screen share. Okay. All right. What's that a picture of? Don't know. Any event. Kevin Rogers, a fifth-generation farmer near Scottsdale, it's in Arizona, sees how technology is helping him use less water. Driving his silver truck around his farm, he points to a flood-irrigated field that uses laser leveling technology. Never heard of that. The sensor gathers a signal from satellites to ensure fields are cleared as smooth as possible, preventing water from pooling. Water efficiency is improving at farms across the West. That's important because agriculture consumes 80% of the nation's water and more than 90% in the western states. It's coming under fire for water use. Vast pasture lands that require water seem out of place in an arid climate. Cotton and alfalfa hay used largely as cattle feed consume a lot of water. But as Rogers sees this, the consistent heat makes it perfect weather for drought-tolerant alfalfa hay. It gives the region's farmers steady income while simultaneously underscoring the West's delicate balance of supporting its legacy economic engine while preserving resources for a bigger, more urban population. The Colorado River is probably the best place to farm, and it goes hand in hand with technology. Farmers are the very first guys to adapt to a new technology because if we can be more productive, if we can do a better job, we can use less water, produce more crops, and make more money. As of 2008, farmers used 12% less water to harvest an acre of crops on average than they did in 1998. That's a 12% improvement over 10 years. At the same time, though, local water use on farms is just under 1% as smaller farms consolidate into larger, more industrialized ones. That's not a good trend. Despite a wet winter in the West, the groundwater aquifers upon which farmers rely remained strained, and that'll be the case for decades, they expect. Efforts to reduce water waste might need to come through policy, making it mandatory. Western water rights are awarded to users right now on a first-come, first-used basis and typically require rights owners to use all of their allocation to maintain their rights. On top of that, most states have incomplete data on groundwater or can't easily verify whether farmers are using more water than allotted. And I think at some point, this is going to have to be some sort of mandate.
If we get away from eating as much beef as we do, you wouldn't have to have as much land to grow alfalfa and stuff to feed the beef with. And then you could use less area and less water feeding us. Right, Patrick? Patrick was nodding.
Yeah, my mic muted and I was looking at something else.
Yeah, that's obviously part of the equation is growing what you can based on the land and based on the amount of water that's available. The system we have in place is first come, first serve in some cases. And I would guess where you're seeing the consolidation, big farms. And the big farms are only interested in one thing, profits. And if they can get the water use rights from all of these smaller farms, they're not going to worry too much about how they use it.
Didn't they do a study? You know, they show all these irrigation channels, but didn't they do a study closing, if they cover the channels, that aids in keeping evaporation down? And
That's true.
And I know it's expensive, but they underground tube feed the water to the crops, to the roots, directly to the roots, using less water and less evaporation and getting it right where you need it. So we're going to have to start upgrading and spending more money, but on the far end, you're not wasting hardly as much water.
Yeah, there's always the biggest barrier to new technologies is entering into the new technology. So like entry costs, setup costs, upfront costs. Yeah, the upfront costs are expensive, but overall, you're gonna save so much money. Like if I got LASIK, I would save myself so much money on glasses down the road.
True.
But I don't know if I want.
I know. Me too. I'm like, I gotta go get my eye doctors. I'd like to have LASIK. That way I can just wear regular cheap safety glasses instead of have to buy prescription safety glasses.
Yeah.
And then I don't know, like the technology with LEDs. Before, if I wanted to switch out an LED lamp in a fluorescent fixture, I had to go in and take out the ballast and bypass the ballast. Now they make lamps that are $12.91 a piece that I can just install and not have to do anything to the ballast.
Yeah, if I did LASIK, I would have a 6-year ROI. Because LASIK is about $3,000 per eye, but if I have to get 2 pairs of glasses that cost me $400 or $500 each every year, then it pays for itself pretty quick.
Like 600, yeah. I got to get safety glasses. I'd like to get a little tint to them,
glasses too,
and then get like bifocals. So you're for one pair that's $300-400.
Yep. So. Yeah, cost of entry is always, and it's different, and people don't like different.
Just like tires. Yeah, tires are initially expensive, but they're cheaper than buying gas. If you added up how much gas you put in a month, you've bought like a couple pair of tires,
Yeah, if you get good economy tires, they'll get you good gas mileage. Even if it only bumps it up 1, 2, maybe 5 miles per gallon, it's a ton of money later for the life of the tires.
1 mile a gallon is awesome.
It pays for the tires over what, like?
Yeah, your tires will last
20,000 miles.
Yeah, 50,000 miles. You're not going to burn 50,000 miles in like what, 3 to 5, 10 years. I mean, come on, depends on how much you drive. So it's more cost efficient. Just like these LED lights, if I don't have to change them every 11 years, okay, then I've saved on labor changing them out every 3 years and buying the stuff and time it takes me to do it. So yeah, I think it's more efficient, so I'm not burning as much electricity. So yeah, initial cost is expensive.
Server farms, buying a new computer, I'm fairly confident if I bought a new computer, my energy bill would go down significantly. But I don't want to buy a new computer.
Well, I mean, it depends on what wattage your power supply puts out, plus
my computer can put out about 1 kilowatt of power. So if I stopped leaving it on all the time, I would probably actually save like $20 a month.
Yeah, I mean, you could downgrade that to like a 600 watt power.
Well, it's not putting that's top output. It's not doing that all the time. It's only pulling like 150 watts right now.
And save that power supply. You can power your own LEDs with it too.
Yeah, like I just got a new laptop and it's got way better power. Like the battery on this thing lasts 2 to 3 times as long as my old laptop.
So we're advocating going ahead and spending the initial investment.
Yes, this is the discussion we've just had.
So we need that for our farmers to do, and maybe we have to get the government to subsidize it which I doubt that this government now would do, but, you know, for future's sake.
Yeah, you've got small farms versus big farms. Small farms could probably more quickly adapt because they're only talking about their little farm. I think even if you had a collection of small farms, they would probably be more likely to adapt faster than a big farm, you know. And the trend is the big farms buying up the small farms. On the other hand, once the big farm, you know, decides they're going to make a change, they can implement that change across all the farming areas. So I don't know. We've got another story about in cities. Now, it doesn't make that much of a difference what we do as individuals, how much we try to conserve. We should, it will help, but farming is the big use of water. However, in cities, you're also having less water use. And let me do the screen share thing. Okay. And you have a young kid playing in the sprinklers. Okay, don't want to see that. We got a guy named Mr. Baruti. And Mr. Baruti, oh, wait a second. Yeah, okay, got the first page here. Has a lot of benefits. What? I apologize. I think I chopped off a paragraph. In any event, leaping ahead. Lower water bills, conserving water, reducing waste, and no lawn mowing. Now, what Mr. Baruti is doing is he is converting the lawn into desertscape. Now, Mr. Baruti was born in Uganda, educated in England, and he runs his own landscaping company called the English Gardener. And he's been involved in landscaping ever since he was maintaining the grounds in his English boarding school. Okay. Now he tears out the lawns that never had much rationale in the first place and swaps them for desert landscapes. If you look around, this is Las Vegas. If you look around at the Las Vegas, you'll see a lot of desertscape. It's a lot of rock, cacti, and various plants that don't use a lot of water. Across the West, cities may still have a long way to go in adapting to hotter, often drier climates, but progress is underway and conservation is taking place. And part of it is people like Mr. Baruti and his company. People come from wherever in the United States, and they are used to having acres of green wherever they come from. But in Las Vegas, that does not make any sense whatsoever. Everyone knows that Lake Mead is low and water is an issue here. The Southern Nevada Water Authority is spending money on lawn overhauls, and that makes sense, given it's especially vulnerable to water shortages. So far, 52,000 residents of wherever the Southern Nevada Water Authority controls, 52,000 residents have signed up for this program, converting lawns into desertscape. The water that we use outdoors is what we can't get back again. Out in California, there's a statewide program that offers $2 per square foot to replace turf and $100 for installing more efficient toilets. The Salt River Project, an Arizona utility, credits homeowners in cities such as Glendale $750, and that's for converting from lawns to desertscape. Scottsdale and Peoria, for landscape, that's Scottsdale $1,500, and Peoria, I presume that's not Peoria, Illinois, but Peoria, Arizona, $1,650 for landscape conversions and other efficiencies or water recycling upgrades. In Albuquerque, people pay $1 per square foot for giving up their lawns. We've also got recycling water going on in a record amount, water recycling because the Colorado River is not doing so good. The Bellagio fountain in Las Vegas is using recycled water. The golf courses are using recycled water. In Phoenix, Greg Peterson is watering a peach tree that needs some love in his front lawn. An urban farming advocate. Mr. Peterson lives on a block flush with green lawns. So everybody in Phoenix, they ain't getting the message. I'm a farmer. I consider myself a farmer. But I'm on a street with 22 other houses. None of them are farmers. Now, what Patterson does, he practices permaculture, meaning in part that everything that goes into the system remains in the system. Stormwater and gray water from non-kitchen sinks, showers, and washers help him grow 80 fruit trees that range from papaya to mango to watermelon. And he does this by running a tiny canal from his storm gutter, rerouting the wastewater from an indoor sink, and harvesting rainfall in a tank. Our single biggest cultural problem is waste.
Well, hey, you'll like this. I just got this. It's about our water, Ed. If you can see this picture, they had to upgrade when we had that earthquake here in 2011. You know, the one that shook all the way up to New York City. It cracked our well here, and they were having bacteria get into our water system. Well, they couldn't repair the well. It's a 350-foot well. It's very deep. It permeates limestone and the sandstone that filters it. So they had to use this new technology. They had to come up with a new system that filters blood. So they based it off of that to filter out bacteria particles. I'm paying almost $95 for water this month. I mean, that's pretty high coming from where I was when I was paying maybe $40 a month. So water is very important. I think you see a new trend now in using native plants, especially around here, that can survive hot summers instead of having to water your lawn. Because for me now, it's expensive. It's very expensive. So I don't know. With climate change, of course, we've had a wet winter. Last winter was kind of dry. We're lucky, but still, in the newsletter they sent out, they are worried about the abundancy of water, and they do talk about it because they said drilling a new well is not the most expensive part. It's finding the water in an adequate supply and quality. So being smart about how you do things, I guess, is your overwhelming sense of that article.
A question I have is, at the moment they're using incentives. They will pay you to convert your lawn to a desert scape, and they're using incentives. If the water shortages continue, I think they might have to move beyond incentives to actual fines. And that is, if you're not using, you should water your lawn. If you want to water your lawn, you want to have that green lawn, you should have to use water recycling as opposed to, just plain rainwater. And like out in California, I think you were first talking about this, Ulysses, just mentioned this earlier. What they have is they have the collection pools. So you get the rainwater. It's just going to soak into the ground if it's a very, very heavy rainwater. You want to be able to collect it. So what you do is you have these collection pools. Some of them are really big, particularly out in San Francisco. Huge, almost like a lake, small pond. And then they have these little polyethylene balls or something floating on top of them.
Yeah, to keep the evaporation.
So that's the thing you have to go to is not, even if we start getting more rain, we got to be able to collect it so we can use it when it's not falling. Instead, what we're getting is the rainwater just pouring down and it's going right into the ground.
It's raining right now.
There you go. You got to run outside with your bucket, Patrick. Save yourself some water.
Well, if
My water bill's not that expensive. I think I paid $10 last month. I don't have a lawn.
if they give us an incentive to hook up our downspouts, you know, but then they're worried about that water contaminating other water, so I don't know. It's weird.
Do you have, you've got a house now, you've got property. I don't know how much property you got. Would you say the people in the neighborhood have mostly lawns?
Oh, everybody has a lawn here. And there's some people that have decorative flowers too. Last year I planted a food garden out front. Had to keep the deer off of it and the rabbits, but other than that, you know, not a lot of sun. I've got decorative trees around here. And this year I put a lot of mulch down, so I probably won't plant too much. I need to actually find native plants that don't need a lot of sun, and that's kind of hard because of all the shade trees I have around my house.
Yeah, that's okay. Now your community then is at least sending around a letter. I know there are some communities where the association will come after you if you don't maintain your lawn. They want the green lawns. And I've read stories of people who said, you know, screw this, I'm going to grow a forest. Let it grow. I'm not going to mow.
Yeah, if you have a homeowner association, then you're screwed because then you're dictated by the terms to keep that up. You know, most counties require you to have your lawn cut. You can't just let a jungle go. So you at least have to cut it to keep it to a certain length. So there's that. But unless you're in a homeowner association where they do require it, you're kind of screwed there. So
I would say, I'd like to know if you guys agree with me or not, that we already have the means to deal with the water shortage problem. We could do things. We have the technology to do it. We don't have the will to do it. Not enough of us have the will to do it. Getting rid of all the lawns and moving to something like, you know, whatever the natural climate is. So I don't think it's a case of we don't have the technology to do it. It's just we don't have the will to do it in too many places.
Here, I'll read this to you. We have authority here. We don't have, like, Roanoke has a county, but this county has an authority. It said by the end of 2016, they estimate the Fauquier County Water Authority assets of having a value of $75 million. The water production facilities include 35 wells, 8 major storage tanks, and about 140 miles of supply pipe. It seems like a lot, but it's a small county. So like bigger towns have way more. We have 3 wastewater treatment plants, 16 pumping stations, and 100 miles of collecting pipes. Annual operating expenses cover about $8 million a year and are covered by customer service fees. And now they have a staff of 43 men and women in all departments. And that's my little county.
Well, hopefully the message will go out more, and hopefully more people will take the measures they need to. But the big thing is we've got to be the farming.
Clean water's big business.
Clean water is...
It's big business because we need it. I'm not saying it to be confrontatory, but it's big business because we all need clean drinking water.
Well, if there are too many places, well, I think of Colorado, the Colorado River, it may be the Mississippi River. You have all these demands on that water. All states have certain demands on it. You're going to have water wars. You almost have water wars now. I'm sure political water wars over who gets to use that water. So hopefully people will get the message. Okay. Got a couple of stories about computers and DNA. In one case, you're talking about storing information on DNA as opposed to like a server or something. And the other story talks about possibly using DNA as for an operating system. Okay. Now the storage part. And let me do the screen share. Okay. There we go. Humanity may soon generate more data than hard drives or magnetic tape can handle. A problem that is science is learning, turning to nature's age-old solution for information storage, DNA. And this is from researchers at Columbia University and the New York Genome Center. Show that an algorithm designed for streaming video on a cell phone can unlock DNA's nearly full storage potential by squeezing more information into its four base nucleotides. They demonstrated that this technology is also extremely reliable. DNA is an ideal storage medium because it's ultra compact and can last hundreds of thousands of years if kept in a cool, dry place, as demonstrated by the recent recovery of DNA from the bones of a 430,000-year-old human in Spain. DNA won't degrade over time like cassette tapes and CDs, and it won't become obsolete. This is according to the co-author Yevgeny Ulrich. They chose 6 files to encode or to write onto DNA. One was a full computer operating system, an 1895 French film, a $50 Amazon gift card, a computer virus, I don't know why you would do that, and a pioneer plaque, and a 1948 study by theorist Claude Shannon. They compressed the files into a master file and then split the data into short strings of binary code made up of ones and zeros. Using an erasure correcting algorithm called fountain codes, they randomly packaged the strings into so-called droplets. They mapped the ones and zeros in each droplet to the 4 nucleotide bases in DNA, A, G, C, and T. The algorithm deleted letter combinations known to create errors and added a barcode to each droplet to help reassemble the files later. In all, they generated a digital list of 72,000 DNA strands, each 200 bases long, and sent it in a text file to a San Francisco DNA synthesis startup, TWIS Biosci, that specializes in turning digital data into biological data. 2 weeks later, they received a vial holding a speck of DNA molecules. Now, to retrieve their files, they used modern sequence techniques to read the DNA strands, followed by software to translate the genetic code back into binary. They recovered their files with 0 errors. In this short demo, Ulrich opens his archived operating system on a virtual machine, and he plays a game of Minesweeper. He did that in front of the person writing this particular story. They also demonstrated that a virtually unlimited number of copies of the files could be created with their technique by multiplying their DNA sample through polymerase chain reaction, and that these copies, and even copies of their copies and so on, could be recovered error-free. Finally, the researchers showed their coding strategy packs 215 petabytes of data on a single gram of DNA. The problem, there's still a problem, which is cost. The researchers spent $7,000 to synthesize the DNA they used to archive their 2 megabytes of data, and another $2,000 to read it. That's pretty freaking amazing.
I agree.
All right. I will move on. Oops, that's not the next story I want to move on to. This is the next story I want to move on to. And this is creating. Now, let me read this story because I really can't explain it that well. And I can't say that I understand it that well, but it sounds really, really cool if I click on the right link. Come on. Here we go. Okay. All right. Scientists, the researchers from the University of Manchester has shown it is possible, so it's just theoretical, possible to build a new super fast form of computing that grows as it computes. This is Ross D. King and his team demonstrated for the first time, they say, the feasibility of engineering a non-deterministic universal Turing machine, or NUTM. The theoretical properties of such a computing machine include its exponential boost in speed over electronic and quantum computers that have been well understood for many years. But, this theory has been well understood for many years. But the research breakthrough came when they demonstrated it is actually possible to physically create a NUTM using DNA molecules. Imagine a computer is searching a maze and comes to a choice path. One path leading left and the other right. Electronic computers need to choose which path to follow first. The claim here is our new computer doesn't need to choose. It can replicate itself and follow both paths at the same time, thus finding the answer faster. This property is possible because the computer processors are made of DNA rather than silicon chips. All electronic computers have a fixed number of chips. Our computer's ability to grow as it computes makes it faster than any other form of computer and enables the solution of many computational problems previously considered impossible. Quantum computers are an exciting other form of computer, and they can also follow both paths in a maze, but only if the maze has certain symmetries, which greatly limits their use. As DNA molecules are very small, as DNA molecules are very small, a desktop computer could potentially utilize more processors than all the electronic computers in the world combined, and therefore outperform the world's fastest supercomputers. Let's see. DNA computing is the performing of computations using biological molecules rather than traditional silicon chips. And DNA computing, information is represented using the 4-character genetic alphabet A, G, C, and T, rather than the binary alphabet, which is a series of 1s and 0s. I couldn't find the link to the actual study itself, so I couldn't get any more details. Probably wouldn't understand it anyway. You're talking about a computer, a biological computer that learns as it grows, and that one sentence where you could, it has to choose, and it has two paths to go down. It creates two models of itself, and each model of itself goes down that path, and then I assume finds out which is the fastest. That's the way I read it.
Sounds kind of dangerous to me.
How dangerous?
Well, think about it. If with every choice it makes, it creates another copy of itself, it's going to get big pretty quick.
That's how we got the blob.
You're still talking about DNA, which is pretty teeny tiny. You're packing it into teeny tiny DNA.
Yeah, but what happens when it turns itself into a virus and it destroys everybody, and then you got a big old zombie apocalypse?
Blob.
Okay, I'll give you that. It could speed up our AI intelligent machine that can replicate itself and get rid of the humans. But I think,
well, if it's an organic AI machine, then it's not really AI anymore. That's a life form.
that's true.
Especially if it's using DNA,
What could go wrong?
right?
I'm sorry, I'm a bit obsessed with The Expanse. So
I know how you can erase it though. You just set up a UV light and it just burns it away.
Oh my gosh, this is the makings of like the next bad sci-fi horror film.
No, but it'll be true to life. It'll be a documentary. Anywho.
All right, Ed, what's your political thing? Or did we did.
I have to take a break. Have you read the story, Ulysses?
No, and it's getting time for me to run, so maybe we'll save it for next week.
Wait, what was the story?
It's I'll read it if you want to take a break. I'll read it.
Yeah, I want to take a break, and
It's the travel ban is reshaping science.
Oh.
Basically, he didn't think it through. We put a ban in. Now people who hold U.S. green cards can't come or go, and now the backlash is facing other majority Muslim nations who have a valid U.S. Some researchers worry that the Trump administration will find ways to reinstate the policy, which he's trying to do, and perhaps expand its reach. The government is reportedly preparing to rework a ban that would exclude current visa holders. Trump has also made brief mention of instituting a merit-based immigration system. The lingering uncertainty over U.S. immigration rules is prompting some scientists to curtail crucial research trips that may dissuade other researchers, students, and entrepreneurs from considering the U.S. as a destination. So basically,
I say we just make everybody a U.S. citizen and call it good.
Yeah, basically, well, no, he wants to make it a Muslim ban, but he can't say that to get it passed.
No, I say we make everybody on the planet a U.S. citizen.
Yeah.
And then imagine the tax base you get out of that.
Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, how would you collect it, though? The thing is,
anybody who wants to come into this country should just be automatically made a citizen.
The thing is,
they're just vacationing here or not.
True. The thing is, I mean, this has caused ripples throughout the world. Now other nations are not going to let our people in. So
just claim you're Canadian. It'll work.
A quote in here.
It's the same rule when George W. Bush was in office. If you're traveling abroad, just say you're Canadian.
Yeah, you got to start A-O. The quote in here is, the
It's
quote
dead
in
in
here
story.
is, the worry we have is a snowball chilling effect, says Benjamin Cord, Director of Public Affairs at American Society of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology in Rockville, Maryland. Prospects of students from places that were not included in Trump's ban may still wonder if their country could be infected in the future and avoid the U.S., he adds. New York University, which has more international study students than any other U.S. institution, has not seen a decrease in interest from foreigners. Associate of International Student Services said, but applications for graduate programs are not due until August, and the situation could change by then. If international students don't feel confident they can finish a degree, they won't come here. So he's hurting us economically as well as intellectually.
Does that mean there's more positions open for native-born students?
I guess, but you'd still have to pay out-of-state rates.
Okay.
Which probably inhibits a lot of people. So, like, the richest people can come here, spend their money. But shifting the center is another paragraph. Halfway around the world in California's Silicon Valley, investors and entrepreneurs are trying to understand how Trump's immigration policies will affect thriving startup scenes, which draws heavily on foreign science and engineering talent. If it's not friendly to stay here after you build your startup, then why bother coming?
I said the main thing is really the long-term effects. And so much research now, you have people talking to each other, people going to conferences from one country to another. A lot of travel is involved. At this point, most of the people in the story that were worried about travel are from the Middle East. But that's at this point. What happens, you got a fairly unpredictable president. What happens if he decides, China's the enemy or something? It's just a real overall chilling effect, particularly in the United States, which has always been, open. Anybody can, you can come back and forth. A lot of researchers coming into conferences in the United States, people in the United States being able to go overseas. And all of a sudden you have this real chilling effect now for non-American scientists in America or wanting to come to America.
So we're just making the world a colder, more hateful place by doing stuff that's not well thought out.
No, because you still have Justin Trudeau and all of the European leaders and whatnot.
Yeah, but they don't have that. We're huge. I mean, this nation's output is huge. And I think I heard somewhere that we're going to need 1 million scientists and engineers to keep our technological edge over the rest of the world going in the future. So I don't see that. I mean, we suck at math in this nation.
So 1 out of 300 people has to be a scientist.
Yeah,
do it. The only problem is, for instance, a lot of science research done overseas. You have, what is it? Jeez, I can't even think of the name now. In Switzerland, that big magnetic Trek thing.
Super Collider?
The Super Collider. That's in Switzerland.
CERN?
It's not in the United
Talk about
States.
CERN.
China's certainly shown it's willing to spend billions more money than we are on scientific research. So besides the chilling effect overall, the question mark now, it could hurt us more than other countries. If we can't get our researchers to go out, these conferences and things. I mean, if we're gonna prevent people from other countries from coming in here, you know what? They got to turn around and prevent us from going over there. I think the EU has, I can't remember the details, but they're not recognizing the American passports of Americans going over. I got the story wrong, but that's basically the idea. Because of the
I heard
restriction,
something to what you're talking about, but it definitely was not the EU.
Well, I thought it was the EU, but I could be wrong. It was a story in the Guardian.
Well, I know the EU allows U.S. passport people to freely go between countries without needing a visa.
That could be it. And it could be something they're only threatening as opposed to something they're actually
I think
doing.
it was they were threatening it, or there was some country close to the EU, or that was thinking of making Americans get a visa. I don't remember what it was. But
I'll tell you
yeah,
what.
there are a bunch of people, there are a bunch of allies and whatnot that do not require visas for American citizens. But there are some countries that are considering making that requirement show up again. So,
whatever restrictions we place on people from other countries, they're going to turn around and do the same thing. And we want to go in the opposite direction. We want a more open world instead of a more closed world. I mean, Pamela's talking, what you have, what is it, the agents at the airports now either have the power or want to have the power to force you to unlock your phone. So if Pamela comes over to the United States like she's planning to visit up to Oregon, when they're
Probably not now, but yeah, they're going to make you look at your data.
no, there was a guy. Yeah, they say they have the power to do it because there was didn't we have this story on here? NASA scientist that was coming back from like Argentina or something.
He's a native American. He's an American citizen.
Yeah.
He went to Argentina, came back, and they detained him for I don't know how many hours.
But they were wanting to get access to his cell phone, but it was a NASA cell phone, and so he wasn't going to do it at first. And then they showed him this laundry list of stuff that could happen to him if he didn't give them access. So he gave them access. If it was me, I would say, "Fuck you! You don't have the authority to have access to another government agency's information."
I mean, that seems like a civil lawsuit against the government.
I would take the detention time if they were trying to get into my NASA property.
Exactly.
I would not let them access. I would call the ACLU, or I would call my superiors and say, "Hey,
and NASA, I'd be like, hey, they're holding me up here. You need to talk to somebody."
Well, they did call him. They did call him, and I think his supervisor or someone at NASA did actually vouch for him or say it's okay.
Yeah, he said it was okay for him to open up the phone, but I still wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
It was like they said that, like, yeah, we have the ability to get into your device or whatever, or to force you to get into the device. But like,
I think that's bullshit. I mean, just because the guy's color of his skin, they even held up Muhammad Ali's son, who's an American citizen. They questioned him. It's because it's just bullshit.
They stopped some engineering guy. Because I think he was Muslim or whatever, and they made him do a test to prove that he was a programmer.
Yeah. That's a lot of stupid stuff happening.
You've got like people that would have normally been criminals had they not gotten jobs as TSA. Basically, they're just like dumb cops. That's all they are. They're the worst of the worst.
Yeah,
they're worse than border guards.
Well, one principle is if you've got the power, you kind of go use it. If you're that agent, you're kind of bored most of the time.
They got small man syndrome.
You're gonna do it.
Yep, totally. I totally agree with that.
Small man syndrome, and they're just a bunch of punks, is all they are.
Yeah,
I don't know about that.
They need to have better vetting for that kind of stuff.
Training,
yes, but like better.
And Pamela said,
as well.
I remember
people need to act smartly.
They detained a children's author from Australia.
Yeah.
I don't understand the logic. It just makes no sense to me. Ugh. She said she's been over here 100 times, and she's in her 70s. Yeah, I'm like, what threat? Just like that woman, that 80-year-old that was that marching and protesting, they pushed her down and sprayed her. What threat does she have to do to you as an officer? Those officers should be fucking arrested. At least let the same thing happen to them. Yeah, at least let me push them down and
there are
spray
these
them.
officers that get fired and then they move to another town and then they get hired onto that force.
Yeah, they need to track these officers like our
An
nurses.
officer that gets fired for abuse of power should be blacklisted from being an officer again.
We've started instituting like the same thing with nurses, because you could have bad nurses jumping around and killing people. Yep. Same thing that needs to happen with people applying for law enforcement. Of course, then we'd never have law enforcement because not many people want to do that job, because there should be, I mean, if they want to go back into that industry, they need to like have a second degree. Like they have to redo their degree or go through like an ethical training of some sort.
I have no idea what the percentages are, but there are plenty of law enforcement people, the law enforcement associations of America, that are against a lot of this crap that the administration is coming out with. They don't want to be the border police, for instance. They've come out against that. They don't want to be border agents. And, you know, I guess there's some pressure to make them expand their role, I guess, into, you know, getting illegal immigrants and things. And I say, it's not our job. That's not the kind of job we should be doing. So I think you're getting pushback from police organizations as well as legal organizations. I tell you, this is a great situation for the ACLU. They're probably making buckets of people are probably, you know, their lawyers are much more active. You might soon see an ACLU agent in every single airport in the country if you don't now. So if somebody gets detained, boom, the agent's there. Okay. What happened?
What did we just get? I have 2 Ulysses now.
2 Ulysses. Ulysses has cloned himself.
I don't know what my computer. It's stupid Windows Explorer.
And we got Pamela back.
Here.
Are you back, Pamela?
I'm gonna try. See if it's working.
We were just talking about traveling.
Yeah.
Are you worried, Pamela? Are you worried when you come back to the United States if the U.S.
It's never been here. It's not coming back. It's coming here for the first time.
Yeah, I haven't booked my ticket. Yeah, I don't know if I'll come.
Book now to avoid disappointment later.
No, I'm thinking I might not.
Oh.
Patrick wants to make you a U.S. citizen so he can have some of your taxes.
What? No, that's not true.
Well, you just said we should make everybody a U.S.
I was
citizen,
joking.
Patrick.
I can't sponsor anyone else until 2019.
Well, that sucks. We're all dead by then.
No, because I already sponsored someone in 2014, and you can only do it every 5 years.
Yeah, no, that was a mistake. We can't help it. So we still love you, Pamela.
Okay, so watch it. So when it's 2017 now, it's only 2 more years. And then
Yeah, well, if we live that
A
long.
lot can happen in 2 years.
Yeah, martial law, nuclear holocaust. I mean, building a wall.
Patrick, I'll marry you in 2 years if you want, if you're still an Australian.
Good to know.
You just moved over you, Ed, went straight to Patrick.
I'll put it on my calendar.
Okay, I thought you were saying Patrick wanted to come to Australia.
No, well, we were actually saying that, I was saying that we should just make everybody in the world a U.S. citizen and just call it good.
Yeah, that way you can't ban anybody if everybody's a U.S. citizen.
That would effectively make it open borders.
Let's make a world citizen.
That'd be everybody. World citizen.
Yeah, I think there should be one country. It should be called Earth.
Don't cross this line, says the guy floating on a rock in the middle of nothing.
Yeah.
How restrictive I know Australia has a lot of restrictions on people coming here and coming to Australia. At your airports, how, as far as you know, how strict is the entrance? Are the Australian airport security personnel known for stopping many foreigners from coming in or taking them aside, etc.?
I'd say all security personnel are like that.
It depends on. Really, I think it depends on who's on duty. So, coming into Australia, I'm an Australian, so I don't have any issues. But when I came in from Indonesia, I bought some wooden instruments for Chelsea, musical instruments, and so all of my luggage had to be scanned. Yeah, because we have very strict environmental laws, like biodiversity laws and things like that. So we're very strict here, and there's good reason for it. For example, so there's shush, darling. Yeah, we'll play hide and seek in a minute. So sorry, there's one section just not far from where I live it's at sort of the start of the Daintree rainforest, where there's over 1,000 species of plants, and that's just that section, right? And by comparison, the United Kingdom in its entirety has about 40. So because they've let so much rubbish in that it kills all the native plants off. So we're very strict there. So I've had that happen. And when we went to England, sorry, she's very distracting. I have to sing to her so she thinks I'm paying attention to her, right? So when we went to England, my husband at the time had said that, they're quite strict and it's going to take forever to get through customs and blah, 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 blah. And they meet you at the airport like with AK-47s. And anyway, I don't know whether that's been his experience in the past or not, but we got straight through. It was no issue. There were no AK-47s. So again, I think it comes down to who's on duty.
Well, I got a book. I have to go. Well, I've already bought my tickets for a movie, and it starts soon, so I got to go.
Have fun with Logan. I know, Ulysses, you've got to go.
Yeah, it was really
good. It was
good.
a good time for us to had a great hour and a half. And
it's the best X-Men film ever made.
Logan.
All right.
Yeah, you'll like it because the other ones were just horribly bad. I'm not saying it's a great movie, but it's the best of the X-Men franchise. And you'll like the Deadpool trailer in it. So
I like Deadpool.
Yeah, you'll like the trailer. It's really funny. So, well, you've probably seen it online. So anyway,
all right.
Explorer keeps crashing on me. So guys, have a good one. Bye, Pamela. Bye, Chelsea.
Bye. I'll check you next week, I guess. So
hit you up on Facebook.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.